Hey guys, I've uploaded a few calorie counting tutorials already. I think it's a great way to keep yourself accountable. While some people think it's more effort, in my opinion, it's actually makes things easier in the long run. I think it's kind of odd that people struggle with their weight from eating too many calories, but they don't track their weight or their calories. Genuinely don't get it. If you track your calories every day and weigh yourself a few times a week, then you get a really good idea of how many calories your body actually needs. What I wanted to share for those of you who haven't come across it before is a website called Cronometer, and they also have an app by the same name. Cronometer goes beyond the focus on protein, carbs, and fat and into the specific vitamins and minerals in your diet. When people talk about calorie counting, they often track macronutrients. That's because your physique's going to look a lot different if you have 2,000 calories just from protein compared to 2,000 calories of sugar. Hopefully you're finding some sort of happy medium between those two. Once you've got in the habit of tracking your macros, you start thinking about the quality of your food, and that's where the micronutrients come in. Tracking your calories controls your weight, tracking your macros controls body composition, and tracking your micronutrients controls your underlying health. So with Cronometer, you input your foods as with any other tool, but it's going to give you back your vitamin and mineral content as well. You'll find some other apps offer this, but in this case, Cronometer is very much based on quality control. You see with other ones, it lets users input the information. It's sometimes incomplete or inaccurate. Here, there's no user input. It's all verified, so you can be sure that it's trustworthy. With this in mind, one tip I can give is to find the generic version of a food, not the branded one. Because the generic version, their team have sourced the nutrient profiles, and you'll often see there's a big difference in the number of listed nutrients. That does mean you're likely to be underreporting your true nutrient intake, because if you are putting foods in that say 7 or 8 nutrients, it's going to record that food in the app as having no vitamin or mineral content. If we review my last week of eating, you'll get a much better idea. So on the website, I go to trends, then I see my calories for the last 7 days, split into protein in green, carbs in blue, and fat in red. I can click on Nutrition Report, untick today as it's incomplete, and look at last week's numbers. Some of the most important nutrients for health are listed along the top, followed by a full breakdown. My target's around 2,350 calories a day. If I went a bit over that, I wouldn't really care as long as my weight is stable. Being off by 50 calories a day could be the equivalent of a 10-minute walk. So a lot of the information comes in the hovers. Again, selecting last 7 days is a great way to appreciate how a single food choice impacts your week. We can look at the percentage breakdowns. Some people like to talk in percentages. This week it was 22% protein, 44% carbs, 34% fat. The calorie burn is an estimate based on my weight and self-selected activity levels. I don't really pay attention to that. When I hover each of these things, it's going to divide by 7 to give me an average day. So if I hover protein, you can see protein shake comes on top. I have 10 grams of rice protein, 20 grams of pea protein, and a banana. Since that never changes, I made a custom food of all three, and on average 36 grams a day comes from that. Down the left it has your macronutrients, carbohydrates, fat, which are lipids, and protein. You can see I get almost twice the amount of omega-3 because I eat a lot of mackerel. I don't overdo it on omega-6. Saturated fat, this app probably recommends 20 grams a day. Hovering that, you will find nixtukas. This happens to be a week where we have them in the house. They are suralis, which is cheese curd covered in chocolate, and they are the most incredible thing to come out of Lithuania, other than my wife. They're not too healthy, as you can see, and once I stop eating those, my saturates should come down. Dark chocolate is also up there. I have 20 grams mixed with my walnuts as a snack, but I could easily cut that to 10. I won't go through too many of the vitamins and minerals. One thing I do is take a daily multivitamin, which is making my diet look a lot healthier than it is. I can actually toggle that off at the top and then scroll down to see how woefully inadequate my real diet is. You will end up Googling foods rich in X or good sources of Y once you use this app. If you're not aware, vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin because exposure to the sun fills your requirements most days, though in the winter it is something I supplement. Vitamin K is something I was really low on a few days this week, and I made the effort to eat broccoli and spinach at the weekend. Minerals, again, if I retick the supplements, you can see how much they contribute to my diet. I take ZMA before bed, that's zinc and magnesium. About half the population are deficient in magnesium. Finally, calcium. I don't eat a whole lot of dairy, so that's something I need more of in my diet. As I said, nixtukas is dairy, but that's one with only 7 listed nutrients, as it's often hard to track down the exact mineral content of foods like that, so they're left blank. I recommend getting the app on your phone as well. It all links up, so it's useful to input on the go. Remember, none of this is exact, but it's a great way to see what foods are causing the most damage and which ones it really helps to include. There's a whole lot more I haven't gone through, which you can find out for yourself. If you already keep a food diary, you could just pick a typical week and enter all of that in Cronometer to see what your vitamins and mineral content are like. One thing to be aware of is herbs and spices. I typically don't note these down when I'm calorie tracking, but something like a teaspoon of cinnamon in your porridge will contribute to your fiber, calcium, iron, and manganese. Cheers.